Good morning.
Campbell.
Good morning, everybody. Campbell McCrary here, Amvest Capital in New York City. Welcome to the Amvest Capital Inc. live webinar with Silver One Resources Inc. Silver One trades on the venture as SVE, Sierra Victor Echo, and on the OTCQX as SLVRF, Sierra Lima Victor Rio Foxtrot. Do hope you'll enjoy today's program. It'll be available in replay mode about an hour after we wrap up today, and you'll get that in an email, but also you can always go to amvestcapital.com/webinars or /replays, and it'll be up there, and easy to watch it again or share it. Do feel free to chat in your questions in the question pane of the GoToWebinar control panel. We really love the audience questions. None are too macro or too micro, and really is appreciated by us and by management of Silver One. As you know, Amvest is a New York-based specialist investment management and corporate finance firm focused solely on the natural resource sector. We're pleased to have with us, disclaimer, this call is most definitely for informational purposes only. We're pleased to have with us today Greg Crow, who's the president and CEO of the company. From 2002 until late 2015, Greg was president and CEO of Entree Gold. Many of you may remember, and instrumental in transforming Entree from an early stage exploration play to one with advanced development mining project in JV with Rio Tinto and its partner Turquoise Hill Resources. So Greg spent a lot of time in his previous life in Mongolia and all that situation had to offer. Again, please send in your questions, really appreciated. And if you can't figure out the control panel, email them in and we'll ask them live. Hey, Greg, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Campbell. Thank you very much.
All right, I see your screen. You got video. You have the floor, sir.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And I'd like to also welcome Adam Graff to Amvest as well. And just give me 1 second for some reason. Okay, you can see my screen still, Campbell? Just let me know. I had a little glitch there.
Yep.
Okay, I'm just going to go here and I will just start on the presentation. Okay, thank you everybody else out there.
Turn back your video, Greg. You lost me.
Okay. Sorry, my video is, okay, where do I get my video on? Sorry.
So next to your name and on the side of the control panel is a camera icon.
Camera. There it is there. Share my webcam. Okay, the problem is to share the webcam is
see both.
Covering my PowerPoint.
Just move it. Just drag it over.
We're good. We see both.
Yeah.
You see both. Okay, got it.
Pick it up and move it out of the way.
Okay, got it. Okay, thank you very much. And everybody out there in the audience, thank you for attending today. For those of you who know the Silver One story, this will be an update. And for those of you who don't, I will be presenting a little bit more detailed information. I'll give you a bit of background history on the company. The company started trading in mid-2016 amid rising silver prices. The concept was a new silver company. And we acquired 3 Mexican silver exploration assets from a company called First Mining Finance. First Mining Finance is one of the companies in the stable of companies run by a fellow called Keith Neumeyer. He also runs First Majestic, operating mines in Mexico, $2 billion plus market cap company. So all those people associated with the senior management of First Majestic are all major shareholders in Silver One today. That said, as 2016 turned into 2017, the silver market started to deteriorate a little bit, and we went looking for something more advanced, and we targeted the past producing Candelaria silver mine. I'm just, oh, there it is there, just came up on the screen, in the state of Nevada. And this was a fairly prolific producer. And I'll be talking about this later on in the presentation in some details. There will be some forward-looking information that I will be presenting. Going forward, not only will I be talking about the Candelaria past producing silver mine, I'll also be giving a brief overview of 100% staked property in eastern Nevada. It's an epithermal high-grade silver, gold, copper vein system. And then I will be talking about a fairly recent acquisition just last year that we acquired in Arizona. It is an extremely high-grade opportunity, silver opportunity. Now, we did do a financing mid last year, 9.5 million Canadian dollars. Of that, Eric Sprott came in and put in 5 million of the 9.5 million. And that was the third time that he had invested through private placements into our company. So he's been a fairly faithful and long-term shareholder. Now, what about silver itself? So why silver? First of all, many uses. Silver is not only a precious metal, but it's also primarily an industrial metal. And there's many uses, and those uses are growing, particularly in the electronics field. If we look at electric cars and solar panels themselves, they're projecting an increase in consumption of another 200 million ounces in the next few years, just in those two industries. Now, so the outlook for silver is very good because essentially supplies are decreasing. Pure silver mines are really hard to find. Well, silver is a byproduct of other mining efforts. And the other thing about silver is in a bull market, and Goldman has said there's about a 10-year commodity super cycle coming, then silver seems to outperform gold as a precious metal within a bull market, and that we've seen with the recent gains in the silver prices and the dropping of the gold silver ratio from a high of 126 back in the early days of COVID to about 67, 68, 69 today. So that said, let's talk about the projects that we have in our portfolio. I'm going to be presenting the three Southwest US projects. I'll talk about at the end the fact that we have sold off our Mexican projects, and I'll talk a little bit about that. So let's talk about Candelaria first and foremost. It's located on the western side of Nevada, just off the main highway that joins Reno to Las Vegas, so very good infrastructure. It was an early producer, started production in 1864 and produced up until 1959 from near surface upgrade underground silver oxide veins, and it produced at an average rate of 1,250 grams per ton silver. It was one of the richest silver producers in the state of Nevada. In the 70s, 80s, and 90s, it was converted to open pit mining. Kinross was the last operator. They operated up until 1997 and decided to shut it down with a collapse in silver prices to well under $5 per ounce silver. Now, they transferred the ownership over to Silver Standard 2001-2002. Silver Standard did a drill program, outlined a fairly sizable new resource. They did some studies. With silver prices still languishing under $5 per ounce, they moved on to other projects and eventually took their company in an entirely different direction. We walked through their door in late 2016, early 2017, and Silver Standard was just rebranding. They were focusing on gold mining, selling off a lot of their silver assets, and they actually changed their name to SSR Mining. So we entered into an agreement with them that gave us the ability to earn a 100% interest with no royalties or back-ins to SSR Mining. So we got a pretty good deal on the project. Now let's talk about this resource that Silver Standard outlined in 2002. Because of its age, it was 43-1 compliant, but now we must deem it historic. Measured and indicated resources, this is in-ground, in-situ resources just on the northern down dip side of the two big open pits. Measured and indicated resources about 44 million ounces of silver, plus additional inferred resources of 34 to 35 million ounces of silver. But on top of this, Kinross just turned off the taps on the Heap leach pads when they walked away in '99, and they left behind a lot of silver on the leach pads. So we actually drilled the leach pads in late 2017, early 2018. We collected over 1,100 1-meter sonic drill samples, analyzed them, did some met testing, combined that with the old Kinross data, and we put out an updated 43101 resource on the Heap leach pads. Now there's two big leach pads. Leach pad number 1 sits right here in that photograph that I had at the beginning of the presentation. Second Heap leach pad is just in behind the hill in through here. First leach pad is estimated to contain about 30 million ounces of silver. The smaller one about 15.5 million ounces of silver. Both of them are at an average grade of approximately 42 grams per ton silver. Now, we want to look at these leach pads as potentially being the first stage in the reclamation of the Candelaria project. We want to look at, can we extract the silver economically from these two big leach pads? And we've done some met testing, but we're continuing to do some met testing. But the thing that gives us a lot of encouragement is if we look at another operating leach operation, silver leach operation in Nevada. That is Kinross's project to the north of Reno. And that project essentially is operating. They're mining silver oxide ore, they're processing it on Heap leach pads, and they are producing at an average head grade of only 15 grams per ton silver. They're getting somewhere between 50 and 55% recoveries. Can we make 42 grams per ton silver work? We are doing our met testing as we speak. Now, the infrastructure of the project is excellent. We're looking at the main highway that joins Reno to Vegas, 2 miles of a paved road past that hidden leach pad number 2 to the leach pad number 1 in the old processing site. Not much left there. 2 big open pits with, on the northeast down dip side, the resource that was outlined by Silver Standard. We have a power line that comes to the old processing site. It's active. We pay our monthly power bills, and we have 2 water wells, each capable of 500 to 700 gallons per minute. So we have all the ingredients required to potentially rehabilitate this into a producing situation. Now let's talk about some of the work we've done recently and then where we want to go. First of all, in early 2020, we did a diamond drill program and we noticed that there's some pretty high grade intercepts still down dip from the mainly Mount Diablo pit, but also some isolated ones from the Northern Bell pit. We followed that up with a 15,000 meter reverse circulation and a little bit of diamond drilling, which we just recently completed. We put out the results of the down dip high grade material last February actually, and there's a nice zone which is starting to define that could represent a potential future opportunity for underground mining by ramping down from the base of the pit. Here we're getting some interesting values up to over 1,000 grams per ton silver and 1.5 grams per ton gold over 3 meters within a nice 8-meter wide interval. And here we're getting 1,100 grams per ton silver and 1.25 grams per ton gold over 8 meters within an almost 30 meter wide interval. And we're getting some nice zones over here. We need to do a bit more drilling to turn this into a resource, but we're planning another 7,500 meter drill program to come up in the not too distant future. Now, there was a second component to that 15,000 meter reverse drilling program, and that was to test the along strike, easy accessible continuity of mineralization outwards from particularly in the Mount Diablo pit. We haven't got all the results back. The assays are coming in, and we aim to put that information out as soon as we get it fully received and tabulated, but it looks like the mineralization is continuing. And what we want to do is, from all of the chips from the reverse circulation program, we want to do met testing on the fresh material to look at the concept of potentially mixing that fresh material with the heap leach material in terms of increasing grades and recoveries. And the whole aim is to put out an economic study towards the end of this year. But that's not the end of the story at Candelaria. We've got another very interesting upside exploration blue sky potential. We completed a magnetometer survey about a year and a half ago, and there's a large magnetic high in purples and reds to the north against a strong magnetic low in blues, greens, and yellows. Now, what's that tell us? The major structural control on all the mineralization occurs right along that major break and heads eastwards off the property. Hothschild was actually drilling just to the east of us about a year and a half ago. So we've got the two big open pits. We've got extensions to the mineralization, silver oxide, down dip high grade. We've got down dip sulfide further down, but also we've got historic workings outwards from the Diablo and the Northern Bell. Kinross started the Georgine pit, but they shut down early in '97, so there's some opportunities there. But we're finding on some of the added dumps, the historic added dumps, just in this area here, a different type of material that really wasn't talked about at Candelaria. And that material looks like this here. This is what's referred to as an altered intrusion or an altered porphyry, and it's shot through with a copper-bearing mineral called chalcopyrite. We analyzed this rock, and this material came back 2 3/4% copper with good silver and gold credits. So do we also have underlying the Candelaria property a porphyry-related target? Could be porphyry, could be IOCG or skarn, similar to what Nevada Copper is actually mining to the north of us at their Pumpkin Hollow deposit near Yarrington. So that's the upside. So what are we going to do at Candelaria for the rest of the year? We're continuing our met testing, not only on the pit extension material, but we're doing a bit more testing on the heap leach piles as well. We're going to be doing another drill program, 7,500 meters coming up. We're going to be also testing to see whether we can work out an underground resource for future extraction opportunities. And then we are going to be testing for this underground porphyry system, which would be extremely additive to an already very interesting silver story at Candelaria. So that's what we're going to be doing at Candelaria. Now I'm going to go on and talk about the other two projects. I'll be much briefer on the other two projects because they're not as advanced as Candelaria. We noticed in a mining journal a reference to Cherokee, and it talked about mining in the late 1800s in the thousands of grams per ton silver. We thought we better go have a look at it. Just south of a town called Pioche, which is a mining camp, they produced in the late 1800s to mid 1900s, started in near surface epithermal silver gold veins, and when they got down into the host limestones, they got into a lot of carbonate replacement deposits with copper, lead, zinc, silver, and gold. So we went and we looked at Cherokee. The old Cherokee mine sits right in through here. We walked the veins and we traced them for over 9 miles along strike. But the only recorded drilling in the area is around Blue Nose in the southeast corner of the property. And they were drilling in the 70s and 80s for a buried porphyry molybdenum deposit. Now, we don't believe they got through the overlying limestones. These are the same age limestones as the Pioche properties to the north. Now, we did a lot of detailed surface sampling. I'll show you the results around Cherokee, hidden treasure, and then I'll sum it up by telling you what we want to do with this project this year. So this is the Cherokee area. Patented claims, we own 100%. We bought the patents and we staked all the surrounding ground. We also have an artesian water well. But this vein itself, we've traced for over 3 kilometers along strike. Good surface values in through here, values up to 950 grams per ton silver, 4.8% copper. Values down in through here up to 1100 grams per ton silver, 2.3% copper, multiple other in the hundreds of grams per ton silver range. So this is a very interesting silver copper system that's never been drill tested. We'll go down to the south towards Hidden Treasure, and what's interesting is a wide zone of multiple veins, but we haven't done enough mapping, but we are getting individual samples up to 1800 grams per ton silver, 2 grams per ton gold. Gold's coming into the system, and the copper grades are much less. We believe that this is part of an epithermal system. At Cherokee, it's deeper near the boiling point. This is higher level in the system. We flew the property, airborne mag, very similar to what we did at Candelaria. And what we noticed was down here, where they were drilling for that buried porphyry, there's a big mag high. Could that be representative of a deep-seated intrusive or porphyry? On surface, we're seeing all sorts of zones of alteration and veining down in Hidden Treasure and Johnny. We want to do some more surface work and sampling, see if we can upgrade those to drill targets. On top of that, Majoto is turning out to be an extremely interesting vein system with lots of surface silver and gold values. And the Cherokee mine itself, we're going to think about drilling that later this year and see whether we can get test those copper silver vein systems to depth as a start. Easy drilling because it's on patented ground. So our last opportunity that we acquired last year, Phoenix Silver, right near the town of Globe, Arizona, big porphyry copper producing camp, but also there's an old silver camp just on the northeast margin of it. Now, some prospectors came to us last year and they said, we have this property. It is in essence almost completely covered by overburden, but we're finding these little vein, silver vein fragments. So they went back up with their metal detectors up an old dry creek bed, and they dug down about a meter and a half, and they uncovered these vein fragments here. Now, one thing to notice about these vein fragments, very angular, very unabraded. We don't believe they've traveled very far from their source. Now, what's interesting is this guy came in at 417 pounds. This is one of the largest silver vein fragments on the planet today. We did not assay it because it is a collector's item, but we did specific gravity determinations and estimated this to contain about 70% silver. So here's the town of Globe. 20-minute drive up to our property, major regional structures in this area here, prolific copper mining taking place in through here, Freeport-McMoran, Rio Tinto, BHP. We've got some old silver mines up in through here that produced, and they talked about native silver in their mines. So what do we got at Phoenix Silver? We did assay a couple of the pieces that the prospectors brought to us, the smaller ones. This piece here, essentially, that's all native silver, all that shiny material. And this guy assayed 459,000 grams per ton silver, or 14,500 ounces per ton. You don't see values like this very often in too many places around the world. Interesting thing is that this mineralized system, this very high grade vein, silver vein system, is thought to be Precambrian in age, Proterozoic, and it's in a similar geological setting to what's referred to as the Cobalt Silver Camp in northern Ontario, Canada. Now, that camp there had material like this. They produced in the late 1800s up into the 1900s, and that camp produced over 450 million ounces of silver. So can we find something similar here? Well, here's our property. We've expanded it now a bit to the north. I need to get a new map here, but here's where that 417-pound fragment was found, and the old dry creek bed goes up in through here. We've done surface geophysics, surface soil geochemistry, and an airborne magnetometer survey. We believe we have some interesting structures in through here. We've got the Mexico mine, we've sampled that, good silver values, and we've applied for a drill permit for this area in through here. A little bit slow in coming right now, but we hope to have that permit in the next couple of months. On top of that, we're finding some new material up and through here. We've got some interesting vein structures down here. Remember, these are thought to be very old mineralized veins, very rich silver bearing veins. These veins here have a lot of copper, lead, zinc, and molybdenum, along with silver and gold, and they are thought to have been overprinted by the big, younger porphyry copper event just to the south. You can actually see all the mines just across the valley. Now, what's intriguing for us as well with respect to porphyry potential on top of the extremely high-grade silver potential is our neighbors on our boundary immediately to the west have entered into a joint venture with South 32 out of Australia, and they are currently drilling for a porphyry target as we speak. So we're going to be working this, get our drills in there after we get our permit, and we're going to be looking at additional opportunities, and eventually we get around to test some of the porphyry potential. So those are the three projects that we're really concentrating on. In Nevada at Candelaria, I'll just recap. We are going to be doing another 7,500 meter drill program. We're looking at expanding the mineralization along strike and testing down dip high grade. We're going to do continued metallurgical testing, not only on the heaps, but the along strike mineralization. The idea is potentially mixing them for a nearer term production opportunity. And we want to get an economic study out by the end of this year. Nevada, Cherokee, Nevada, we want to continue mapping and sampling, possibly drill the patented copper silver rich veins to see if they extend to depth. Phoenix Silver, we're waiting on that drill permit that's being applied for, but we'll continue doing mapping, sampling, and some geophysics. This is how we've traded since the inception back in 2016. We've got about 12 million in our treasury. I spoke earlier about the fact that we had sold off our Mexican silver assets. We sold them to a new company that's trading on the the Toronto Venture Exchange. It's called Silverton Resources. They gave us 1.25 million on signing. They're going to be giving us another 1.25 million in about 18 months. On top of that, we've got about 4.3 million shares of their company. Total valuation of the sale of these assets is estimated to be between 5 and 6 million Canadian. So that's going to continue to beef up our treasury. We're getting a lot of our warrants exercised. On top of that, Eric Sprott is our largest shareholder. He participated not only in the placement last July, but in 2 previous private placements. So he's been a very faithful shareholder, and we do trade decent volumes on both our US and Canadian exchange, and we do trade in Frankfurt as well. So that is the Silver One story. So if anybody has any questions, please let me know.
Excellent. Thanks, Greg. Had a few questions that have sent in. Let's just start with a macro. Someone had picked up, there's always sort of lots of passionate chatter about silver in the blogosphere and different websites that false claims of the LBMA and the quantity of physical silver on hand. Any thoughts or anything you've heard or not?
Yeah, well,
all conjecture and rumor, but that's what's on people's minds, Greg. So
yeah, sure. Yeah, is there a shortage of physical silver? I think in the short term, well, we definitely a short-term shortage that came about during the Reddit event earlier this year. And that, I think COMEX was caught off surprise, and they just didn't have enough to do the daily deliveries. But interesting enough, I was just reading an article online a couple of days ago about they may have actually overestimated the amount of silver they've got in their vaults, and to the tune of about 20 to 25%. So something's weird is happening with the physical supply of silver. But I think the thing to think about is not only the immediate physical supply of silver, but what's happening down the road with respect to longer term silver supplies. On the mining side, mining has been in a deficit for the last few years, and the supplies are, as I said, in a deficit, but the uses are continuing to increase, particularly in the electronics field. Everything you touch, your cell phone, your computer, your car has so much silver in it, and the electric vehicles is going to have so much more silver, because silver is used in all the electronic connectors throughout all of these instrumentation. It's used in solar panels. It's used as a flux in the creation of antifreeze. It's used in mirrors and jewelry, and it's used in essentially coins and bars as well. So the uses are continuing to increase, and as time goes on, we're going to see a decrease in the supply of silver. So long-term supply, yes, there are going to be shortages. Short-term, are they really shortages, or are they just delivery problems? Stay tuned and let's find out, see if we can find out some more articles on what's really in those vaults over at the LME, etc.
Why did you get out of Mexico? Or I would rephrase this, why did you monetize Mexico, and what did you get?
Okay, a couple of things. Well, I think I talked about what I got, but I'll reiterate it again.
Yeah.
And why did we?
Was it just to make money, or
why did we monetize? No. Essentially, what we did was the Mexican silver projects were quite interesting projects. There's no question about it. But they were, shall we say, earlier stage. We moved into Candelaria, which is in Nevada. We like the Southwest US. We think that Nevada and Arizona are constantly rated within the top 5 mining jurisdictions in the world. And they're more advanced projects. So that's what we wanted to concentrate on. We just weren't doing much in Mexico. I mean, we're a junior company and we have limited resources, and we wanted to concentrate on the Southwest US, and it was time to monetize. We are still have a large interest in those projects through our 4.3 million shares in the new company, and plus we will be getting $2.5 million into our treasury, of which we've already got 1.25 million. So it was just the right time to monetize.
Right. A little bit more about Phoenix Silver. Any idea of what you have and the value?
Well, it's pretty hard to say. We haven't even drilled it yet. As I said, those silver fragments haven't traveled too far. And if we can find a system that has native silver in it, even if we found a system that was, say, even a quarter or a fifth of what those grades were that I quoted earlier, and we found a small area of that, 10,000 tons of material like that could host more silver than the 70 million historic tons at Candelaria, because grade is king. And if we can find a high grade resource, it won't take much in terms of tons to really rack up the silver ounces. So it could be an extremely valuable find. We're going to drill and see if we can find it.
When might we see results? Someone's a little impatient. Any hand holding on this topic?
Which topic? The Phoenix Silver or what? Or anything?
No, back to Candelaria.
Oh, back to Candelaria, sorry. Okay. When will we see results? Okay, well, we put out some of the underground results on the 15,000 meter reverse circulation program in February. We're just getting the assays back on the rest of that 15,000 meter drill program, which we will get out in the coming weeks as soon as we get them finalized in and tabulated. And then on top of that, we want to do another 7,500 meter drill program, which results will probably come out in the fall. And we want to follow that up with an economic study towards the end of the year. So those are the 4 hurdles that we're trying to overcome this year.
So you might do a batch result release?
Yes, yeah, we usually do batch results. I put out the first series because the program was going a little bit longer than we had anticipated. Slow ups with drill availability, COVID issues at labs and things like that. So we moved, we put out the initial results and they were pretty interesting. Nice high grade down dip results, but the next ones will be a batch result, yeah.
Okay, now for some tougher questions, bringing in the big guns here. Adam Graff, Senior Mining Analyst, Mining Research, brand new, as you mentioned, at Amvest, and Artie, our Associate Analyst as well. So a little bit more about all this than I do. So hi, Adam.
Hi, thank you, Campbell.
You.
So Greg, you forgive me, this is sort of my first time really seeing the story here. So my understanding of Candelaria is Kinross was open pit mining oxide silver.
Correct.
And they were heap leaching it?
Correct.
And the extension of the lateral extensions that you're looking at, those are also oxide?
The lateral extensions here, you'll see the map on the screen here. The lateral extensions here and here are oxide. These down dip high grade intercepts are predominantly oxide, but we're getting into a little bit of silver sulfide related mineralization as we get down deeper than about 400 or 500 meters.
Gotcha, gotcha. And I know it's early, but have you done bottle roll tests on those?
We've done a lot of metallurgical work. We've done about 3 stages of metallurgical work, actually. The first stage, we sent our samples off on not on the high grade material here, but on some of the heap leach material, I should say. We haven't done it on this material. That's part of the upcoming met testing that we're doing. And in particular, we're going to be doing a long strike here because we want to look at an economic study of potentially mixing this material with here. Eventually, we'll get around to be doing some more studies on this deeper, higher grade material for future extraction consideration. So not sure the timing on that just yet. I need to talk to my geologists and engineers and find out what's a good time for that. This is mainly core samples, although we do have some reverse circulation chip samples, but we do have, which makes it easier to get material for testing. So it's going to be a stage thing.
And if it is, if you do transition into, high grade sulfide, any conception, anything in your head there as far as how you would exploit that? Would you maybe create, would you try to create like a small recovery facility on site, or maybe bag it and ship it off to, to Carlin or something like that?
Yeah, well, the preliminary studies and the back of the envelope studies that we've done, we haven't put out any formal economic study yet, but the initial idea, I'll start with the heaps, because the initial idea, we ran some samples with McClellan Lab. They were column tests, etc., and bottle roll tests as well. And we looked at milling to 200 mesh and then processing it through vats and then Merrill-Crowe finish. We looked at that as an opportunity, but we thought the capital costs were too high, particularly in the era of $13, $14 silver. So then we went on and we took the same heap leach material, we shipped it up to Caps Cassidy, and they have the ability for testing with what's called HPGR, high pressure grinder roller grinding technology. Interesting Coeur just put HPGR circuits into their Rochester mine, the one that I spoke about earlier, where they're processing heap leach silver as well, and they're getting increase in recoveries as well. So what we did was we ran the samples with Caps Cassie. We did the HPGR testing, suffered a little bit on the recoveries, but what we did find out was that the capital cost would have been significantly less than a fine milling. And then we did some ultra fine milling testing. We shipped our samples down to First Majestic's lab in Mexico, where they're playing with the idea of doing vertical Higgs milling, about 400 mesh and microbubble flotation recoveries. And we played with that. We got really good recoveries, but again, the capital costs might be a little bit much for the heaps at Candelaria. Now, down the road, and we want to look at putting that a facility on site to recover the heaps and maybe mixing some of the heaps with the open pit. But the down dip material, and particularly if we get into a sulfide at depth, you know, we might have to go to a flotation system for that sulfide material. But that is quite a ways down the road, and we haven't really even started drilling any of that sulfide mineralization yet, which would be further to the north down dip in through here.
Now, what was the historic recovery that Kinross got with their heap leaches?
Interesting. It was similar to what Coeur is getting at Candelaria. The historic, open pit average grade for Kinross was somewhere between 90 and 110 grams per ton silver, and they were getting around 55% recoveries based on the historic data.
And what were they? What did they grind? What did they grind? Was there a multi-step crush there? What did they crush?
They crushed essentially the heap leach material to 3/4 of an inch, and that's what's sitting on the heaps right now on average. And one of the methods with our HPGR that we're looking at, regardless of what we do, we're probably going to have to move the heaps, because Kinross wasn't the first operator. The first operator was Occidental Mirco back in the 70s. And we don't know the status of the underliners beneath these heaps. So we're going to have to build new pads, and that's easy to do. We would do it kind of in a leapfrog method. We would take part of the 3/4 inch material, we would HPGR crush it down to about 2 millimeters, and then probably reagglomerate up to 1 centimeter and put a portion of the heap onto a new pad, and then leapfrog as we replace the pads. And that's the concept that we're looking at. And right now, so stay tuned for an economic study coming out towards the end of the year.
And do you think you can, maybe beat those 55% recoveries?
I don't know if we can beat 55% recoveries, but we don't necessarily need to on the heaps per se, because a lot of that material is already mined. So what are the costs there to do that? We don't. We can probably increase recoveries and maybe get into the 47% recoveries. I don't know if we'll get the 55. Now, once we get a lot of material coming out of the pits, we can probably do 55 and probably increase above that. How much we can do that, I don't know. That's part of the met testing.
And going back to more regional at Candelaria, you showed this geophysics. So these other pits here, this Georgine pit, I'm assuming the material there, looked very similar to Northern Belle.
It was similar, but wasn't as wide. What's interesting is what we notice is that the Mount Diablo mineralization is associated with what has been referred to as the Candelaria pick handle thrust system. And that thrust system dips to the north. North of Mount Diablo, it's at about 50 degrees, and it's about anywhere between 10 and 30 to 40 meters wide, and mineralization varies within it. Over at the Northern Belle pit, we think there's a bit of a structure that actually comes up from the Lucky pit up in this direction offsets it a little bit, and the mineralization here still dips north, but it dips about 70 degrees. Over at the Georgine pit, 70 degrees north dip, similar to Northern Bell, but the system is not quite as wide as Northern Bell, but grades are similar. So is there going to be a bit of a resource there to pull out? I don't know, but on a regional blue sky exploration, I'm fairly interested in what does this material sitting on the dump that is so rich in copper mean. It looks like an altered porphyry. I want to look at that as potential for really enhancing Candelaria down the road. What's also interesting is in the Northern Bell pit, we're seeing these veins several centimeters wide of pure turquoise, and it is gem quality, and some of the local jewelry shops come and take some of those samples, and they actually sell it as Candelaria turquoise. So there's something happening with copper beneath this system. So we're looking at mainly as an early stage thing, silver oxide. Further down the road, underground, silver oxide, maybe getting into some sulfide, but further down the road, is there a big porphyry center sitting somewhere underneath this property?
Yeah, certainly down in Arizona, you get that, where you'll have superficial turquoise, you know, that leaked up from, I'm not sure if it leaked up directly from an enrichment blanket that's sitting on a porphyry, or if it leaked up from the porphyry and then it was enriched. I'm not exactly sure, but I've seen that link before.
Yep.
That's fascinating. And then down down at Phoenix, is that transaction done? Or are you guys sort of earning in, or what's the status there?
We're earning in essence. What we did a deal on the property, we can earn up to 100% interest by making payments over 4 years amounting to 10 million Silver One shares. We've issued about 1.5 million shares to date. The bulk of them will come in the 3rd and 4th year. We're just entering into just completing our 1st year. So we've got time to do our exploration and find out. Now on this portion of the property around and through here, there is a 2% NSR back to the original prospectors, but we can buy that down to 1%, I think, for $1 million.
Now, those are recent prospectors, or those go back decades?
I wouldn't say decades. I'm not sure when they originally acquired their interest in the project. Probably with, I don't know. I never asked them a question how long they had it, but we did our research, and they certainly had the property title rights. So.
And who is your neighbor to the west that you said? And remind us what you said there. They're partnered with South 32. What are they drilling for?
They're drilling for a porphyry system.
Okay.
So, and we believe there's an overprinting of the younger porphyry mineralization associated with some of these veins, because they're pretty rich in copper, lead, zinc, and moly, along with silver and gold. The group here is a private group. They're called Bronco Creek, but they're affiliated with royalty company out of Denver. I think it's EMX Royalties, I think is the name. Dave Cole, you probably know Dave.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. Well, you certainly got a lot going on here, and certainly enough that's interesting, right, in some of the best U.S. jurisdictions that I completely understand you're trying to monetize your Mexican assets.
Yeah, they just weren't advanced enough for us, and they would have required millions of dollars in exploration. So why not put that into the more advanced opportunities that seem to be more promising? That was the philosophy.
Excellent, excellent. Hey, I'll pass it on to Artie here. I'm sure he's got some questions.
Yeah, thanks, Adam.
Thank you, Greg. When we look at this down dip intercepts you have, are those, do you think, are those will be accessible via like extending the old pits, or do you think more like underground mining will be better for those?
We're talking Candelaria here again, right?
Correct.
Candelaria, let's go up and look at the map here. A couple of things. So the answer is both. If we look at the pit itself, it looks like if we look at, remember what I said was that the mineralization is hosted within a big fault that's bounded by what's called the Candelaria Fault. And that Candelaria Fault comes here, and you can trace it eastwards and westwards. So we would look at extension of the open pit mineralization in through here and in through here. We do have some resources in the base of the pit as well, but this material would be probably accessible by underground, and that's higher grade, could support that. And eventually we would ramp down from the base of the pit into this mineralization. So, but that's for future consideration.
How deep are those pits?
This pit here, the depth of the Mount Diablo pit is between 125 to 150 meters. And then these intercepts go from essentially just below the base of the pit, some of the near ones here, to essentially down as deep as 400 and 500 meters out in through here. And then here we're getting into some sulfide mineralization.
And my last question is, may I ask you to comment on the possibility of mixing the heap leach material with some ore that you can mine?
Yeah, well, would be the heap leach, mixing it right now. We're doing a study on potentially mixing it with the heap leach material for an early startup, but eventually we would look at mixing this material with the high-grade oxide. That could be treated together, but further down the road, if there is a big sulfide component, then that would probably have to be treated more by a flotation facility versus a heap leach facility. So it's it could be a very long term. The heaps themselves, interesting enough, if you were to produce from the heaps at the rate of 2 to 3 million ounces of silver per year, there's about an 8 to 9 year mine life just on the heaps. We start mixing this material, and then we start adding this material. We're talking decades of potential operation down the road. But we got to do our studies first to make sure it's economic, and wait till the end of the year.
Thank you. Campbell?
Sure, we have a few more questions that were sent in. Thank you very much. Actually, ahead of time, you can all do that as well. First of all, okay, the shares that directors and management own in the company, at what price were they bought? And did the directors and management get the shares as part of a deal, or did you buy them out of your, earned after tax money?
Okay, a couple of things. Directors and management essentially purchased their share position. I actually purchased mine out of the original shell company before we started trading, so they were very inexpensive. Average price you can see on my SETI filings was about 1 penny. So that was very good for me. I haven't sold a share in the 5 years that I've been head of the company. Now, I also have several options at various rates, anywhere. Again, you can see this on SETI from 5 cents up to 65 cents. And I will probably be exercising some of those in the coming months. And there will be, unfortunately for me, a tax liability associated with the exercise of those options. That's what the Canadian government does. So that's something, but I think the growth potential of the company is such that it's well worth exercising those options.
Indeed. And someone asked about warrants, but we see warrants right there, 35.6 million.
Yeah, and a lot of those are being exercised. Particularly the 20 and 40 centers have been exercised, but some people have been exercising the 65% warrants as well. So that's intriguing for us. And that helps top up our treasury when they get exercised.
Mm-hmm. Great. Want to thank everyone for tuning in. Please share your feedback on your way out. Something will pop up on your screen, a few lines, whatever, serious or reverent, would really appreciate it. Greg will get them soon. And replay available in about an hour. Actually, original link will work for that, and we'll also be sending one, and you can always get it in about an hour at amvestcapital.com/replays. But yes, please, your feedback, really great. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Artie. Thank you, Greg. And behind the scenes, Gary Lindsay. So if you reach out to the company, you might encounter Gary first. So with that, we'll bid you all adieu. Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Campbell.
Thank you.